This is big for the Phoenix Suns as their blockbuster trade reveals just got real as James Jones and this Phoenix Suns team is reportedly aggressively pursuing Jimmy Butler and will try to get Jimmy Butler at all costs, even if it is giving up Bradley Beal, as they know the Heat do not want him, but are trying to find deals in which they can get this done. The Suns want to shake up for Mike Budenholzer's offense and for this team going into 2025, and we're going to be breaking and looking at all of this in this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. Welcome back, guys. You guys have been absolutely fantastic and showing your love and support on the channel, which has been super, super appreciative over the last couple weeks. So if you do enjoy the content, make sure to keep hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button, guys, as you guys have been absolutely fantastic in doing that. But 79% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. So if you want to make sure you get up to date on all the daily Suns content like this post-game stuff and for live streams coming in the next couple weeks, make sure to stay tuned with Suns Digest. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And like I said in the introduction, this is exciting to hear as we've had some recent reports, obviously revolving around this Jimmy Butler saga for the Phoenix Suns for the last couple weeks now. But things have been going up and down. We all knew that if Jimmy Butler was going to get away to Phoenix, it'd have to formally submit that trade request. And step one of that plan already happened. But in our recent video, we broke down how this is going to be a little bit more difficult for the Suns due to the fact that Jimmy Butler said he could help out any team compete in a championship, but also with the fact that the Miami Heat did not want Bradley Beal's contract for Jimmy Butler. And that still stands as of current updates. If we want to look at this courtesy of Evan Cedery, we can see that the Suns are the most aggressive team in trade talks to acquire Jimmy Butler, and that is courtesy of Brian Windhorst on ESPN. And Evan Cedery tweeted this out with a nice little clip from Brian Windhorst, where he said that the Heat don't appear to have any interest in Bradley Beal, but Butler landing in Phoenix will require Beal waiving his no trade clause somewhere else and completing a multi-team deal. And Evan backs this up by saying that that report confirms a notable action from the Suns ahead of the deadline, that Bradley Beal is being shopped. If the Heat don't want Beal, which appears to be the case, Phoenix is actively calling around, trying to find a team interested in him to complete a Jimmy Butler deal. So the reports are true and things are happening as the Suns are making sure that they can get into this best case scenario for this team, because I truly believe this is the best case scenario for this team. Yes, you are getting a little bit older, adding a player in Jimmy Butler. Yes, you're going to have to give him an extension that might sacrifice your long-term tenure. But if you truly want to win with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, with this team, you ultimately need that third star. And that third star needs to be a player that can be solid on the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, one that can make plays and be an aggressive defender. And Jimmy Butler fits all of those T's for the Suns specifically. And if we want to look at this as well, we can see courtesy of Gerald Bourguet of PHNX that Brian Windhorst, he also follows up by confirming this, where Brian Windhorst and Mark Stein have both reported that the Suns are the most aggressive team in pursuing Jimmy Butler and that the Heat have no interest in Bradley Beal. That means that it will require a 30-team deal for Beal, which he would be willing to waive his no trade clause for. And as we've seen with the Suns, changes are necessary. Over their last 6 games that they have played, they are 1-5 in those 6 games, losing 4 straight since Christmas Day. And with this Suns team, it has been a clear disaster with Bradley Beal, as we see furthermore from Evan Cedery that the Suns are a top 10 team this season when Bradley Beal is off the court compared to when he is on the court, which is one of the worst when he's playing. Off the court, the Suns have a net rating of a 3+3, which is 9th in the NBA. With Beal on the court, they have a minus 9.3 net rating at 28th. It's obvious that Beal doesn't fit at all in Phoenix, but his contract has tanked any real trade value, and that is the case, as we all know, with Bradley Beal. If we want to look at his contract, he has $50 million this season and $110 million given to him over the next 2 seasons. And as we've seen with the Suns fans growing recent frustration over the games, we have also seen Bradley Beal grow in that recent frustration. If we look at pictures from following yesterday's loss to the Indiana Pacers on the road, you can see Bradley Beal not engaged on the bench over there to the left. And in this picture here, you can see Kevin Durant and Devin Booker all smiles, all giggling when losing this game, with Bradley Beal nowhere to be in sight and with no smiles. So obviously the signs are pointing that the Suns are looking to make an aggressive move, as they have fallen, 15 and 18 to the season, are currently sitting not even in the play-in, meanwhile playoffs, and Matt Ishbia has promised a playoff contender team with this roster. And players like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker deserve to be on teams at that nature. And they deserve to have teams built around them around that case. And what we saw with the Suns last night was a little bit of a different team. Obviously, limited in that center rotation with no Osa Gardaro and no Yusuf Nurkic, so having to use Mason Plumlee was a little bit difficult. But with no Tyus Jones, we got to see a little bit of a different defensive look with this Suns team, running with Beal and Booker in that point guard situation. And we saw truly once again how it doesn't work. And I truly believe that if the Suns are able to find a deal revolving around Bradley Beal, which I know is difficult with the fact that he makes $50 million this season, and the Suns having limited draft capital, but if they find a way to get off of this Bradley Beal contract, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, regardless if it's for Jimmy Butler, regardless if it's for any sort of any helpful players and rotational pieces, I truly believe that the Suns will have enough ammo to be able to restructure this lineup and be able to retool. If they move off Bradley Beal's contract, they drop underneath those aprons, they give themselves a little bit more flexibility and have a little bit more leeway in making moves to build a constructible roster to compete in the Western Conference. And ultimately, like Cedaria said, Bradley Beal has limited that. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, how you guys ultimately feel about this whole thing. Like I said, we all know the Bradley Beal kind of experiment is over in Phoenix, and it is going to be difficult for them to find a move. 17.8 points on the season, 3.7 rebounds, 3.1 assists. Beal has also been injured since he's gotten to Phoenix last season and this season, dealing with multiple injuries, having good shooting percentages on the season at 48% and 39% from three-point range, but hasn't been available. And specifically, last night was not available when the Suns needed him most, when they had Beal, Durant, and Booker all together. This is one of the instances this season where we've seen all three players be able to be healthy, be able to be out on the court at the same time, and clearly they're all not clicking together even when fully healthy. So that clearly shows you that the Suns team has issues as a whole. When we're looking at Butler's stats, comparing him to him, we can see Butler has also dealt with some injuries and also has a little bit of decreased stats this season, or averaging around the similar points, but more rebounds, more assists, and averaging better shooting percentages from the field. A little less from three-point range, but Butler, I believe, going into that Phoenix Sun system, accumulated with this Mike Budenholzer three-point roster shooting team, I feel like he'd be able to get his numbers up. So let me know what you guys ultimately think down below in the comment section. But next, we're going to get into the part which kind of talks about who even takes him. Because, like I said, in this kind of scenario for the Suns to move a player off Bradley Beal, it's going to be difficult for them even to get Jimmy Butler because they have to find that third team. And from looking across the NBA, if we want to look at some of these teams, it is going to be very difficult to find a trade partner. Out west, I believe no team is going to want to help the Phoenix Suns in taking a contract in Bradley Beal, nor does any team out west that wants to compete need Bradley Beal as an extra contract. Possibly a team like the Sacramento Kings if they go into a little bit of a rebuild or if they want to restructure their offense. But truly, I don't believe taking a player on in Bradley Beal, another offensive player, is necessarily needed for a team in Sacramento, as they need truly defense. If you look out east, you also would have to find a team that would be willing to take a player on in Bradley Beal. And what team is going to do it if the Heat are not going to do it if they still want to compete? Maybe a team like the Chicago Bulls, maybe a team like the Brooklyn Nets if you can convince Bradley Beal that he could be a star player on one of those teams. And that's the ultimate true hard case as well as with the Suns. Bradley Beal has this no trade clause, so it's not like the Suns can just find a random third team like a team like the Wizards or like a team like the Utah Jazz and just send him there. Bradley Beal would have to be also okay with going to one of these teams. I truly think maybe a team like the Detroit Pistons could maybe buy in on him with losing Jaden Ivey for a little bit of the season if they want some increased offensive pressure. But what kind of contracts do they have to match to give to the Suns for Bradley Beal? That's a little bit difficult of a conversation to get into. Ultimately, the Chicago Bulls do have that contract in Zach LaVine to do a three-team deal that is also a little bit of a negative asset. So if they were able to convince Bradley Beal that he could win in Chicago or stay in Chicago and be a vital piece, then maybe the Suns could facilitate a deal there as well. But ultimately, I believe Chicago would have to receive initial draft capital upon that, and I don't know if Phoenix has enough capital to get off of Bradley Beal's contract. Like I said, this is kind of the telltale of this Suns organization over the last couple of seasons is that this trade has realistically set the Suns back, not just then, but now and for the future. And if the Suns can't get off a deal like Bradley Beal and can't find any moves this season to make any replicable roster changes to make an impact to compete. I truly believe that the Suns are going to have a lot of bad questions and questionable things to go over going into the offseason, deciding what is the future of this team in the next couple years. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, what you guys ultimately think, as we broke down the new interest, as the Suns are the most aggressive team pursuing Jimmy Butler, which makes sense as they need that main upgrade, and not a lot of teams have the contracts and or have the limitations to acquire a player in Bradley Beal or in Jimmy Butler. The only problem restricting the Suns is finding a team for that Bradley Beal contract. Will they be able to find it? I think at this point it's going to be provide very, very difficulty to do it, added with the no trade clause and with the $50 million. But if the Suns are lucky enough to find a team to do that deal, I ultimately think that it will successfully help out the Suns, but I do believe that that is a slim chance of them being possibly able to do that. I'm going to say right now it's a 70-30% chance that they don't get it done, but who knows in the next couple of weeks if Butler's camp does get frustrated and he desperately wants to play in the Heat, want to get something from him, maybe they'll bite and take on Bradley Beal, or some team will to take on to get a deal done. But let me know what you guys think ultimately down below in the comment section, how you guys feel about this Suns team, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. You guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.